Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something huge, a massive shift in the world of data privacy. We're talking about India's brand new rulebook and what it means for businesses, well, pretty much everywhere.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question. It seems simple, right? But believe me, the answers just got a whole lot more complicated and potentially a lot more expensive. If you're running a business and the answer to this is yes, you're going to want to listen up.
And here's why. A new law just landed that completely changes the game. It's called India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. Let's just call it the DPD Act, to keep it simple. And this thing, it directly impacts any organization anywhere in the world that handles the data of people in India. Your company's location doesn't matter.
So, let's unpack this. What exactly is this new rulebook? And where does it fit in the grand scheme of things? With data privacy laws popping up all over the globe.
Okay, so the DPDP Act is basically India's first ever all-encompassing rulebook for protecting digital personal data. And we're talking about the whole shebang, from the basics like names and phone numbers, all the way to super sensitive stuff like the Aadhaar national ID. For the first time, there's a single, nationwide standard.
And this didn't just come out of nowhere. If you look at this timeline, you can see India's new law is part of a much bigger story. It's a global wave, really. It started heating up with Europe's GDPR back in 2018. Then we saw major laws in California and China. Now it's India's turn. It's clear that governments everywhere are getting serious about tightening the rules on data.
Okay, but what does all this regulation mean for businesses in the real world? Well, let's get right to it. It's a huge challenge and a potentially very expensive one. We're talking about some incredibly high stakes if you get it wrong.
And here's the number that's making everyone sit up and pay attention. The DPDP Act carries potential fines up to 250 crore rupees. Now, what does that mean in US dollars? Roughly 30 million. Yeah, that's a number that's absolutely designed to grab your attention and make data privacy a top-level boardroom conversation.
So, you might be thinking, hey, we're already GDPR compliant, we're good to go, right? Well, not so fast. The DPDP Act has its own unique twists. For one, it's laser-focused on digital personal data. The rules for moving data across borders, also different. And it really doubles down on how you get consent. It has to be crystal clear, in plain language people can actually understand.
And just to add another layer of, let's call it fun, a brand new group, the Data Protection Board of India, is going to be the one interpreting all these rules. So what this all means in practice, day to day, a lot of that is still up in the air. It's really going to come down to the decisions this new board makes.
So you've got these huge fines looming and a lot of uncertainty. The big question for businesses is, how on earth do we deal with this? Well, the material we're diving into today points to a specific kind of solution, an architectural one.
It's something called a data privacy vault. And yeah, the best way to picture it is like a digital Fort Knox for your most sensitive customer data. The whole point is to build a wall around that personal information, isolating it from everything else. Then you protect it with some serious tech, and you govern every single access request. But here's the key. You do all that while still being able to use the data for your actual business.
And this isn't just some drawing on a whiteboard either. This vault approach is already seen as the gold standard. I mean, we're talking about an approach that's being used right now by the biggest names in the tech world, companies that handle insane amounts of data, like Netflix, Apple, and Google.
All right, so how does this thing actually work? How can it lock data down so tight but not lock you out from running your business?
It really comes down to 3 key steps. First, you isolate. You take all that sensitive personal data, what we call PII, and you put it in the vault, totally separate from your other apps. Step 2, you protect it. You wrap it in layers of powerful encryption. And third, you govern it. You use a smart system to control exactly who sees what and when, making sure data is only ever used the way it's supposed to be. So what's the magic behind this? Well, it's some pretty cool tech. For instance, something called advanced tokenization. That's where you swap out a sensitive piece of data, like a credit card number, with a random, useless token. Your apps see the token, but the real number stays safe in the vault. Then there's polymorphic encryption. Get this, it lets you do work on data while it's still scrambled. It's wild. On top of that, you've got strong controls to make sure Indian data stays in India, which is a huge deal. Plus that governance engine we talked about to manage all the access.
Okay, but this brings up a really important question, especially in the context of India. What about the most sensitive data you can imagine, like an Aadhaar national ID number?
And for that, you need a specialized solution. Think of it like a maximum security safe inside Fort Knox. An Aadhaar vault is built specifically for this.
It uses those super strong protection methods and really granular controls to lock down that one unique, highly regulated piece of data.
All right, so let's zoom out. What's the bottom line here? What are the big takeaways for anyone trying to navigate this new, more private world?
Here's the most important thing to get. This vault idea isn't just about locking things down. It's about finding a balance. It's about being compliant and keeping your business running. You get to isolate the sensitive stuff, govern it precisely, protect it with top-notch encryption, but, and this is the crucial part, you can still use your data. All of that works together to help you avoid those absolutely terrifying multi-million-dollar fines.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Remember, India's new law is just the latest piece in this global puzzle. As more and more countries build their own data fortresses with their own complex rules, are we heading toward a future where every single company, big or small, will need its own digital vault just to stay in business? That's a question a lot of people are going to be asking themselves. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.